This conference will now be recorded.
All right. So yeah, as we were just talking about me recording, it's the other thing we used to use. It used to set up the recording immediately once we began, and unfortunately that doesn't do that. So you guys are gonna have to keep and remind me until I get into the groove, and then I won't won't forget. But let's go back over to Twitter. We were talking about basically Twitter, Facebook, Baba. I was not watching Apple, so I'm not even gonna bring that one into this. But we saw in Baba great selling over and over again at 170, and in the chat he even said I had he had a theory of it going down to 160, and I mean this thing is now just hit 159. If we come back into Baba, we're talking about since we saw all of that selling this earlier this week on Tuesday, okay, that this thing broke down over $10. You cannot ask much more than that. I mean, it's a $10 move within a week, and it was so clean. It showed us exactly what's going to happen. You look over here on that daily chart, it's like clockwork. Okay, when we see that much selling happen over and over again at a certain point, and the big consolidations, the bigger the consolidations, the bigger a move. Now I'm going to talk about Facebook again because I did forget it for the recording before, but coming in 170, same type of deal. We saw at 170 over and over again earlier this week that selling start to come in. And it sat there in consolidation as it was happening. This thing has broken down another one, almost $10. Now, we did just get some covering that came in at buying that came in at 162. I'm going to have to assume it's buying because it was coming back on, up on the way, up on the uptrend. So while we're watching this, I'm going to expect it to fall below 162, and we're going to see some more, with more room towards that upside. Now, does that mean it's done? No, not necessarily, because, at the same time, if it's going to pull back up, I don't have my full stories from today, because I was only here for the first 30 minutes, and then I had to come back, and things were kind of dead, a little, pretty dead when we came into 11. But this is a great spot for me to look. Now, I don't have the full story, but 162, once this thing pulls back, if I get a trigger to the upside, I will be trading Facebook long this afternoon. Okay, especially on a stock that has this much of a range, $7. For this thing to move up $3 or $4 is nothing. Okay, compared to $7, even if it moves $2 on any type of stock is a phenomenal trade. So keep in mind these prints right here. I love the red dress I just saw. A little bit of a pullback, trigger back to the upside. I will be looking at that to trade. And then Twitter. I don't really see too much happening this afternoon as we look at it because it's just kind of overextended. The volume's kind of dropping a little bit. It's just way too much, way too consolidated. It's not like a stock like Facebook where even when it's a little bit slower, it can still move $1, $2. Twitter's just not like that. I mean, obviously one of them's, basically about $31 and the other one is way more expensive, but something to look at this afternoon. I mean, when you get a trade, see, that's the big thing about trading. It's not that every stock that moves we're able to do anything with it, but it is every time we see something that shows us this has to happen, we pay attention. So that 162, one of the best things that I'm seeing so far coming into the afternoon. So our morning list, we talked about ARWR. If we remember from this morning, there was no bigger prints whatsoever besides buying coming into this pre-market. We had 18, we had 1750. So what happened is once the market went to go open, we started to see a bunch of selling prints that came in that kind of kicked it off. Because remember, selling, when we get a whole bunch of selling prints in a big burst, we get that up movement first before it were to come down. So what happened is we literally got a kickoff to send this stock all the way up to our, basically our highs right here of 22.39, which it didn't hit 22.50, and it looks like we had a really nice trigger to bring it back down towards that short side. But now it's coming back towards the 18 prints in the 1750 to come and give us that pullback before we end up seeing the stock continue on its way up. For everything that I saw from earlier this morning, I did not get a chance to see what happened as we were going in. Obviously, right after 10 o'clock, I could not be here anymore. But I would have to assume there was some really good buying as it was pushing this thing back up. So we're going to watch this one. Put a little star next to ARWR. And I'm going to be watching this one very closely over the next few days because it looks like we have a lot more room for this thing to go after it comes back down underneath and satisfies those prints at 1750 and 18. Still going to be watching this afternoon, still trading 56,000 shares. Not much more that we could ask about that. Cron, C-R-O-N, another one I didn't really get to see what happened at 12, but one thing it did show us is at 1150, I would have expected a lot more of a pullback than pretty much 60 cents coming down here. So I did not get to see the prints once again at 12, but it looks like, did it hit 12, guys? Because I know earlier this morning we had some decent prints that came in at 12, but it doesn't look like it ever came back up. Let's see, look at our highs, 1196, 1198. Yeah, it looks like it never actually came back up and hit that 12 level to give us anything more. So it would have had to be buying that was coming up towards that rather than actual, than an actual controlling prints that came in at that 12 level. So right now, just sitting in consolidation. I don't expect much of it whatsoever. But one thing I am going to tell you is that, see, this is probably one of the ugliest consolidations that you're going to see on a daily chart. But guess what? The consolidation is huge. So what's going to happen is when this thing breaks out above that 13 level, we're going to see a really big move. There's just too much buying there for that not to happen. Now, that those prints at 1150 earlier this morning, unfortunately, in my opinion, definitely extended what we're going to be looking for the pullback. But at the same time, it's just showing us it's coming back down. We're going to look, for the selling to stop that's coming into those levels, and then finally get that, that volume spike that breaks this thing out. I'm going to tell you one thing right now. What's the safest trade in CRON right now? Does anyone know when this is going to break the consolidation? Anyone have any idea what day this is going to break the consolidation? Because I know I don't. Because when we see it come down to the bottom of the consolidation and come back up, all it's got to do is do what it did yesterday at 13, give a huge buying again, and bring it back down. The safest trade is actually going to be over 13, because remember, once it breaks over that 13 level and that consolidation, is it only going to move a few cents? And the answer is absolutely not. The amount of buying that we see up there, it's going to give us dollars. So really, at the end of the day, the safest trade really that's going to show us that it's time for this thing to really start going is going to be above that 13. You saw the prints down at 12 early this morning right here, right? Or did you see them right here at coming in right around 1045? Which point? Because I'm just looking at it and it just never hit 12. So there might have been above the ask. There might have been at 1045, that's very, very weird. I mean, unless I'm seeing something wrong, were they above the ask prints? High 1196, 98, 97, 83, 88, 88, 92. I'm going to have to go back and look at that, just because the chart itself isn't showing that it went up there. But obviously, if you saw them, you saw them. You're not new to looking and seeing prints. What my notes say, okay, very interesting. So I'm going to have to go back and look at that, just because, it's just, you would think that it goes up. It would have went up. It might have been, out of sequence or something of that nature. So that's something that I will get back to you guys a little bit later. So let's take a look at everything else. I mean, everything, it's just a slow day. You know what? It's overall, I mean, it was a great day earlier, but the actually what's going on right now, there's just not much out there whatsoever. So let's take a look. ARWR, we've already spoken about. ABAC, 2.6 million. Nice move this morning, but absolutely nothing going on. CVM, 5.2, nothing that I really see. CLDR. I just don't see a lot of room left in most of these stocks that we're looking at. So, you know what, are there going to be some movements? I'm going to be focusing mostly on our everyday stocks, and especially the ones with some bigger ranges, like Facebook. From what we just saw, that by far, that one above that 162 level is my favorite trade after that thing ends up pulling back. Moving over to our loser side of things. Same type of deal. I mean, you can see, I mean, most of the volume is very low. You know, we've had some good moves that came back out there, but just not much. So today, a big down day for most things that we saw going on out there, but you know what? It showed us that it was going to happen. BABA, Facebook, Twitter, those were a few things that we've been looking at over and over again and waiting for them to come back down from all those sellings. AMD has some really great buying at that 28 level. It's only a matter of time before we end up seeing this thing come back above that 30. So something else that you certainly want to keep your eye on. It's just going to it's going to be a matter of finding the trigger and just the higher volume days. We've had some really, really great days, Tuesday and Wednesday. Today's just been, from what I've seen, a little bit lackluster. There's great trades, don't get me wrong, but coming back, I just, after 11, I probably got back, 11:15, 11:20, somewhere in that area. I have not seen much of a story out there, much of anything really showing us, what's going to happen besides ARWR, which really needs to come back down lower based off the prints we saw this morning, and then that Facebook at 162. Anything else out there that I missed? Nada. All right, so let's get ready for the afternoon. we have a few things to be looking at that really show a lot of promise, and then anything else that pops up, let's make sure we work as a team and we put that out there. All right, guys, I'll talk to everyone in closing bell, and happy trading.